is there a potential for a business here underneath maybe a very simple insight that could be described as a feature or as an app? Let me give you some examples here. So Evernote is a company that you mentioned that I have the pleasure of being involved with. Note-taking, you could argue on the end of the spectrum is a feature. In fact, it's not even a product, it's a feature of a product that shouldn't even be a business. Because note-taking is, it should just be part of Windows, or it should be part of iOS or Android. On the other end of the spectrum, though, if you think broadly, note-taking is so fundamental to our daily lives. I mean, how many people have taken notes here? How many people are taking notes on Evernote, I hope? It pervades everything that we do. And the question there is, was there a business model that would fit the use case and had it be broad and universal, not just a minimalized feature that over time would get thrown by the wayside as people use the native notepad. To distinguish that, there are lots of things that you have to look at. And there are aspects to do with monetization, and can this business sustain itself with revenue? And I think more importantly, the thing that I push mobile developers to look at today is, are people coming back to the application in a fundamental way every day or every week or every month? It depends on the type of application that you're building, but are they engaging with what you're building in a meaningful way? And that to me is the earliest sign of a business that's sustainable and maybe enduring 10, 20 years from now.
So essentially what you're looking at in terms of, like what I said, KPI, install obviously is very important, but what you're mentioning is really what's the daily active, or maybe how long do they actually stay in the app? That's what you're referring to?
Yes, so one simple way for people to boil it down is the daily active user or the weekly active user. I think one level beneath that, you want to see the real cohort retention curves. We use these plenty with companies like Evernote, and Dropbox is another Sequoia company which has shown some of this data, where once you have people, they just stay. You get a natural drop-off in the first day, week, month, but if the users who you keep after that point in time continue to use the product, then you have something to build a business on.
So do you have any numbers maybe you can share about Dropbox?
I wouldn't share anything that they haven't already said publicly, but needless to say that they are growing phenomenally. As was reported recently in the press, they have a partnership with Samsung where they're preloaded on a number of devices. Another company which you could argue in its early days, when we first intersected with the company, that the file system or file sharing is only a feature, it's not a business. But they've proven people to be wrong.
So any specific do's and don'ts that maybe a couple of tips for fellow developer community that we should really think about?
Everyone here has an interest in mobile, and mobile is providing a lot of expanded opportunities for all of you in the room. The one thing which I think is both a don't and there's a corresponding do is don't take a desktop model and assume that it will just work on mobile. You're doomed to failure if you're just going to take that approach. And in fact, lots of companies are going from the web to mobile and assuming that they can just take their product and translate it directly onto a much smaller screen with a touch interface, and it doesn't work. The corollary there is this creates a huge amount of opportunity for the startup community, and that's at the fundamental heart of Sequoia's business model, which is we can take young companies, hungry and innovative, and have them compete against giants. Again, there's a parallel here. We saw in the web days companies from brick and mortar stores trying to go onto the web. And early days, what did they do? They would take a photo of their store and put an address and a phone number, maybe a little bit more information. And to do that, they would usually pay a consulting firm, a web consulting firm, which was futuristic at the time, $50,000 or $100,000 to do that for them. And that wasn't use of this technology in new creative ways, was it? But when you fast forward to today, a lot of the Fortune 500 companies, they are creating mobile apps, which are essentially information packs of what's on their website, and they're paying consulting firms $50,000 or $100,000 to do that. Back in those days, there were a couple of companies which made the transition from a brick and mortar business to a web business. You could argue a company like Dell used a new channel effectively, and there were new business models created that wouldn't have been possible at all, like Amazon and eBay and Google. In mobile, don't just take what's already there. Think a little bit out of the box. And even if there are businesses which you believe are going to be translated or moved from the web to mobile, think about it from a mobile-centered design principle. Start with the mobile device. I backed a young company about 2 years ago in the mobile gaming space. They were two guys, and they wanted to go and compete against the likes of Zynga, who already had plenty of content, and Zynga was porting Farmville to the iPhone and so on. That company's name is Pocket Gems. They are about 100 people today. It's only 2 years later, but they were able to compete in those early days because a company that was based on Facebook didn't understand what it meant to have a product on a 3.5-inch screen.
So you talked about like many great examples, like feature turning into a business, and it seems like there's a lot of good idea. When you buy a team and investment, do you look at more on the idea or the people?
You can't look at one without the other. It's a misnomer. Some people try to characterize a particular investment style as looking at the market or looking at the idea or looking at the team. In truth, you need all of that context. And I think about it in the same way as a founder. If you are putting together your own team, what are the things that you would want in your company to be able to compete against the incumbents and in a crowded, competitive market? It's not just the idea. It's not team. Everything has to work in concert and be authentic. There are some very, very capable teams that come in with a logical idea, and the argument may go something like, I looked at the mobile market, it's huge. I looked at this particular use case, it's very interesting, and there are lots of press articles about it, and so I've decided that I'm going to raise some money in the States to tackle this problem. Maybe a great team, but an inauthentic idea. There are other times when you just have someone who comes in, maybe there was a reason for them to discover a pain point which wasn't in their area of expertise, but it happened to be that they knew the pain better than anyone else.
So how many of you are single founder? One person. Okay. There's hope. That's a good thing. So what do you think about Dolphin?
I'm biased. We love the Dolphin Browser. I think it's very creative. A lot of the things that I've just been talking about, the mobile experience in itself, being able to browse with gestures, being able to browse with controls that are inside of the device. I mean, my earlier comment about the opportunity here, think about all of the hardware inputs that you have in this mobile device. You have an accelerometer, you have a compass, you have ambient light sensor, camera, you have a touchscreen, which is just incredible. You can do so many things with it. Yet, how many apps fully make use of all of these toys, which are at your disposal? And Dolphin starts to do that with a browsing experience, which people understand, people know, and I think the users are speaking for themselves.
Great. I bought him a lot of drinks for that.